In this lecture, we are going to create a function with JavaScript. Thus far, we've been running functions defined by JavaScript or the environment. We haven't had the chance to define a custom function. Let's quickly explore the syntax for writing a function. The purpose of a function is to store reusable logic. The concept of a function is universal in the programming world. Let's write a function by replacing the file's contents in the snippets section of the developer tools. We can define a function by writing the function keyword. This keyword is followed by the name of the function. The rules for naming variables apply to functions. For this example, let's set the name of the function to sum. Afterward, we can add a pair of parentheses and curly brackets. The parentheses can contain an argument list. Inside the curly brackets, we can add the body of the function. Let's use an alert function to add two numbers. These numbers can be whatever you like. I'm indenting the body of the function for readability. It's not required to indent the body, but it's considered standard practice. We're going to adhere to this practice throughout the course. Next, we need to call the function. By defining a function, the code inside does not get executed. We must call it by typing the name followed by a pair of parentheses. Let's try executing the script to view the output. As expected, the alert box will display the sum. JavaScript will perform mathematical operations before passing the value on to the alert function. The result is displayed on the alert box. So far, so good. The process for writing a function is similar to writing a function in PHP. JavaScript functions support arguments and return values. Let's try playing around with those features. For starters, arguments can be added to a function by listing them in the parentheses of the function definition. Multiple arguments can be added by separating them with commas. Let's update the sum function by adding two parameters called a and b. By adding these parameters, data can be passed into the function to manipulate the function's behavior. In our example, the sum function should be able to calculate the sum of two numbers passed into it. In the alert function, update the value passed into it by adding the a and b parameters. Next, we need to update our function call. Let's pass in two random numbers. Parameters are another feature supported by JavaScript. They allow us to send data to a function during its execution. I'm going to run the script. Almost immediately, the alert box will contain the sum of the two values passed into the function. Perfect. Let's explore the final feature of functions, which are return values. Functions can return a single value that can be used outside of the function. Rather than rendering an alert from within the function, let's do it outside the function. We're going to replace the alert function with the return keyword. Next, we're going to create a variable called total. Its value will be the sum function below our function definition. Lastly, let's run the alert function with the total variable. The total variable will store the value returned by the sum function. Before the sum function returns the value, it'll calculate the sum of the two numbers passed into it. Let's try running our script. After doing so, the same behavior occurs. Unlike the previous solution, the sum is reusable outside of the function. We're not restricted to using the sum from within the function. Overall, functions are pretty similar to functions for any language. You should feel right at home with functions in JavaScript. Let's talk about arrays in the next lecture.